Executive Director of Common Sense Adoption Services. Welcome to our YouTube channel. In this video, which is the final in a short series on the legal process, I'm going to talk about how to prepare for court and what to expect during hearings. So let's get started. So when you have a foster child placed with you, we've already talked about the fact that there are regular hearings that you and that child need to attend throughout their time in care. So let's talk a little bit about how do you prepare for these hearings and what can you expect during them. So hearings that are happening every few months are usually status review hearings. Maybe something has come up, there's a dispute over visitation schedules, maybe there's a kinship resource, someone who's stepped forward, who's expressing an interest in being considered. A lot of things can be going on. So these hearings are a way for the court to look at the facts and make some decisions about how to move forward with that case. So one thing that you need to be aware of as a foster family is that you are expected to be in attendance and to bring that child to court. You need to arrive on time, and you need to be prepared if asked to testify. And as we discussed, there will be someone from our office that's there. Typically that's your case manager, sometimes a supervisor if we have a conflict. You'll have the child's county caseworker there typically, along with all the other people that we've already talked about. So how do you prepare for hearings? So one thing that's really important to know is that while you need to arrive on time, doesn't mean that the hearing is going to happen on time. So we really encourage families to pack as if you might have a long day ahead of you. If you have very, very young children, make sure you bring diapers, change of clothes, plenty of bottles, formula, snacks. For slightly older children, same thing. Make sure they have snacks. Make sure that you bring activities, preferably quiet ones, that can keep children entertained. If you need, bring comfort toys, if there's a favorite blanket or snuggly that's really important for a child. These are stressful times for kids. So bring those things that are going to help not only get you through a long waiting period, possibly, but also are going to help keep this child or children calm and feeling comforted. So come prepared. Make sure that you have with you enough things to get you and those children through what could be a long waiting period. In some cases, and this is where we'll talk with you before any hearing and help prepare you for the nuts and bolts of what might be happening in that hearing. But in some cases, you may be asked to bring an overnight bag or a suitcase in case that child is sent home directly from that hearing or is sent to kin. Or if the plan for this hearing is to move the child somewhere else, you should come prepared at least with some basic, few days worth of clothing and personal items. So that's how you get prepared for the hearing. It's important to understand these hearings can be very chaotic. Oftentimes you're crammed into a small space with a lot of people, not just for your hearing or your case, but oftentimes there's other parties there for other cases. This might also involve extended family members who show up, birth parents, and so if you can imagine, these can be really, really stressful experiences, not just for the child, but for you, for all the parties involved. And so I think an important thing is working with our team to plan for what might be going on during a hearing and how to not only prepare yourself as a parent, but also how do you help support this child. This process is very difficult for many children. They may enjoy going and seeing extended family. They may enjoy getting to reunite with siblings that they're not living with, but it also might be incredibly stressful for them. So recognize as a foster parent that in the days leading up to a hearing and in the days after a hearing, your child may really be struggling with the whole process and a lot of feelings. And so you can expect that one hearing might have a real ripple effect before and after. Our team is here to help support you and that child through this process. It's also important as a family to recognize that just because you have a 9 o'clock hearing doesn't mean that it's going to happen at 9. So if you're a working parent, you may need to plan to be off that day. Again, we will coach you, we'll help you based on the specifics of the case to plan accordingly. Some families find it helpful to have more than one parent there, or if you're a single parent, bringing a support person if you just need help managing the children while you're at a hearing. So I think something that can be very frustrating for families is that you arrive on time and the hearing might be delayed and never happen that day. Something may come up that they decide to continue the case to another day. It was really nice during COVID because we were doing these hearings remotely, which meant people were on standby but didn't have to drive to a courthouse and wait in a small room. You could just be waiting kind of by the phone until you were called upon. They're not doing that as much now, partly because judges are required to see children. Now there are some exceptions with school-age children. We don't always remove them from school for some of these hearings. So again, when you have a hearing coming up, it's important to talk to your caseworker to help prepare for what to expect. Are you excused from certain hearings? Can the child be excused from certain hearings? But most of the time you will need to be there with the child and prepared maybe to camp out for a long time. So one of the hardest things I think in this process, because it's stressful enough as an adult going to court, it's really stressful for kids, and we're going to encourage all of our families to work with your case manager, with the county team, to really prepare on a case-by-case basis the children. It's really hard in a video to tell you how to prepare all children because it really depends on the circumstances, it depends on their age, there's just too many factors. But we can't forget that through all of this court process is very difficult for many children. And so work with us to make sure that the best support is being given to children so that they're able to manage these hearings without too much damage. And I think courts typically are pretty careful to keep children shielded from some of the more difficult aspects. So they may have children participate in part of the hearing and then excuse you and the child for the remainder of the hearing. So that's an important thing as a foster parent, to recognize that you may not have much of a voice in court. You may also not be present for the entire hearing because you aren't needed. A lot of that court hearing may be about what the birth family is doing towards in terms of meeting their goals. So you may only be in the courtroom for a short part of a much larger hearing. And won't really kind of have the full picture of everything that's happening with the case. So do expect that after a hearing that there's going to be a period of time once our team has a good picture of everything that went on. We're not always part of the entire hearing either. So there will be some debriefing usually that occurs if not later that same day, certainly within the next few days, where we are briefed as your agency on developments that occurred during that hearing that we may not have been a part of, and any changes that necessitates in terms of things like visitation schedules. If we were seeking permission to, get certain services in place for a child, we will get more information oftentimes after that hearing that we will share with you once it's available to us. So it's important as a family to recognize you're going to have a lot of trips to court and as a foster parent, and you do need to, really prepare to manage what can be a very stressful situation, not only for the child, but obviously for you. So lean on your agency, ask us questions. We're here. That's what we do. And I hope this was helpful. So thanks again for joining us. I'm Erin Chick, and hope to see you soon. Bye.